All right, welcome. Today, we're jumping into a really fundamental change in how our online communities are being built. We're talking about a move from being, well, digital tenants to becoming digital owners. So let's just kick things off with the big question this whole idea is built on. Are you building on rented land? For years and years, creators, communities, we've all poured our time and energy into these massive platforms that we don't control. We've basically just been tenants. The source material we're looking at uses a pretty powerful, maybe even provocative analogy for this. It calls it the digital plantation. It's a really stark way to think about the traditional model where we, the users, are the ones creating all the value. And here's the reality of that model. We're the product. Our data gets harvested, our content is what they use to sell ads, and our ability to reach our own audience is completely controlled by these mysterious algorithms. It means your entire digital world, everything you've built, could just, poof, vanish overnight because of some corporate decision you had no say in. Okay, so this slide just lays it all out, side by side. On the left, you've got the old way, where you are the product. But on the right, you have this new emerging model called social networks as a service, or SNaaS. And here, the entire goal is to make you the owner. The whole idea is to shift from those opaque algorithms to rules you set, and from top-down corporate control to real, genuine community control. So that brings us to the solution being proposed here. And it's a huge shift, really. It all centers around one incredibly powerful idea. For anyone out there who's ever felt completely powerless when a platform suddenly changes its rules or its algorithm, well, this represents a massive flip in that power dynamic. And at the absolute heart of this whole thing is one word: ownership. This is the big move, from being a digital tenant to achieving digital sovereignty. So what does ownership really mean here? Because it's not just about, having your own little website. It's about your community leading the way with its own sovereignty. It's about your data being independent. And it's about the freedom to control your own economy. And this breaks it down perfectly into three main pillars holding it all up. First up, platform sovereignty. Simple. You own the space, you make the rules. Second, data independence. Your community's data belongs to the community, not some third-party company. And third, economic autonomy. You can monetize your work directly, without some giant platform taking a massive cut right off the top. All right, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how does this move from just being a cool idea to something you can actually use in the real world? What does it actually look like to put this into practice? Well, the key tool that makes all this possible is called Social Networks as a Service, or SNaaS. Think of it like a utility. It's the plumbing, the back-end infrastructure that lets you build and run your very own social network, totally on your own terms. Now, the source material actually points to one company, Linkspreed, as a prime example of a leader in this whole ecosystem. It's highlighted because it provides the kind of scalable tech that's designed specifically to give creators a real alternative to the old constraints of big tech. And I love this quote from the source because it just captures the sheer scale of this change. The idea is that with a SNaaS platform, you are not just launching an app, you are claiming a territory. It's really about building a sovereign home for your community online. So what this really means is that building a true digital home isn't just for the giant corporations with endless resources anymore. Nope. The tools are actually becoming available for anyone to go out and claim their own territory. And honestly, that's the most exciting part of this whole thing. You don't need a huge team of engineers or millions in funding anymore. The tools to actually build and own your network are becoming accessible to, well, everyone. To give you a concrete example of this in action, the source brings up a platform called Web4.community. It's presented as a place where you can actually take these principles of ownership and start building your own networks right away. And the process on a platform like this is usually pretty straightforward. It starts with your vision, figuring out your community's purpose. Then you deploy, going from just an idea to a live network. Next, you customize, shaping the platform so it feels like yours. And finally, you scale, growing from maybe just a small group to a global movement without fear. So to wrap it all up, what we're really witnessing here is a major transition. We're moving out of an age of extraction where all the value was just taken from users and into an age of ownership where that value is created and, more importantly, controlled by the communities themselves. It's a really optimistic vision for a more decentralized, more human internet. And that leaves us with one last really powerful question for you. The tools are here, The old walls are starting to crumble. The digital frontier is wide open. So the only question left is, what will you build?